Hello, and welcome to the Catching the Octopus podcast. Here, we will explore how connecting inward gives us an advantage outward. We openly talk about the obstacles and challenges and difficulties that life throws our way and how they become moments of gratitude and things that can benefit us when we look back on our lives. I'm your host, Naomi Hurley, and it is my mission to bring you top quality guests that will share with you openly their obstacles and also the techniques they use to go inward that strengthens the way that they serve themselves and others at the highest level. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast. Today, I have Peter Banigo. He's the founder at Target ICT. Now, Target ICT is a tech consulting company, and in a moment, we'll hear a bit more from him about what that is and what that does. But firstly, welcome, Peter.
Hi, Naomi. Thanks for having me.
And Peter's joining us from the other side of the world for those Australian listeners. So you're in Nigeria at the moment, is that right?
Yes. I'm in Nigeria currently.
Yeah, excellent. So we're going global again. We've had a few global guests on, so we're doing it again. So Peter, just for the audience and for the listeners, can you just describe a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. So my name is Peter. I think in 2010, that's like 14 years ago, I started my first business and I just got bit by the bug at that point. Kept starting so many things till at a point, I think in 2018, I had like 4 businesses running at the same time. And I'm sure you can relate.
Wow. Yeah.
With one, it's crazy. with 4, it was something else. So I think over time, I think that same 2018, I started Target ICT. That was one of the 4. Because with the previous businesses, they were mostly things I wasn't like, I started a food business. I still don't know how to cook like 10 years later. I started an e-commerce business. So yeah, just things like that. But I think the advantage, because they say you always have an unfair advantage. The unfair advantage I had in all of them was that I knew how to use tech. I've always been a techie. So I always had a way to use tech to stay ahead of other people. So that's why I started Target ICT, because I was like, okay, if I can use tech in all these unrelated businesses, why don't I just focus on doing that instead of doing things? Yes. So that's what happened.
Find your zone of genius, right?
Exactly. So that's just what happened finally.
So what made you go from operating all those businesses to just the one? Was it around just you knew you had something to offer in the tech space?
Yes, because I think I mentioned it at a point sometime earlier. I've always been this person who wants to take things apart. Like every phone I have, I've opened it up. My car, I've taken my car apart. I've always been that kind of person. So back in 2006, I know my mom got me a laptop, and I think that's what got me into tech when I think about it, because I used to sleep like 2 hours a night. I just stay in the laptop, figuring out everything in it. Then when I started my business, it wasn't okay. The first business was hosting, it was tech. The next one was food. Those were in tech, but I found myself always going back to tech, because like with the food business, but that was in 2012 and 2014. I started 2 different ones. I started using Facebook ads then to bring in customers. Then nobody was using Facebook ads. I started using I had a delivery website then it wasn't that popular. So I had those advantages over others. Kept applying tech. My procurement business, I think what blew that up was the things we used to supply. I'll just put up blog posts, put the location, and I just had people calling me all day for the things, and I just
too hard
meet my supplier. And yes. So I always had that advantage. So at the time when I was running 4 businesses, like I mentioned, I just realized that I always used to call myself a multitasker before.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got to that point, I just realized that one thing that I've held true for the past like 5 years or so is that multitasking is really a lie, because you do the best work when you're doing one thing at a time.
Yep.
And one thing I've realized also, any business, even though your business is just picking up a pen and dropping it, is going to take a lot of your focus. It's going to take a lot of your
Yes.
time. We have just 24 hours a day. So I just realized that focus is powerful, and it's better just going into one thing, putting all that 24 hours or whatever you have every day into that one thing and just making it the best possible, instead of just trying to, today I'm thinking, right now I'm thinking of e-commerce, next thing I'm thinking of procurement, next thing I'm thinking of tech. It wasn't really working.
No, well, I talk about people talk about balance, and I kind of say, well, I don't believe there's a thing called balance. I think it's
No.
counterbalance. You're like, when you're here, you have to give 100% here, and when you're here, you have to give 100% here. But if you have five things you're giving 100% to, then
It's not
it's
never.
limiting, yeah, it's limiting your time, isn't it? So to do all that sort of stuff, I would have to say that you'd have to have some pretty good mindset as well, right? To do all of that. So there's some limitations in mindset that you've probably had to overcome to be able to get to what you're doing now?
Yes, a lot. A lot.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so I think the first one, I think I always talk about that. I always used to introduce myself as an introvert. So for the first few businesses I did, I never did anything where I'd have to speak to anyone, where I'd have to have sales calls or anything, because in my mind I was an introvert.
Yep.
But going in, when I started this Target ICT, I realized that it's consulting a lot of the time. And with consulting, you need to talk to strangers, you need to talk to people. And it was just somewhere out of my comfort zone. I was, oh gosh, at the point I was wondering what made me do this? What
Yeah.
made me do this? But I now realize, and I know I was telling you this like a few minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
Um, if just a few months ago, having to come have an interview, having to have a sales call, having to talk to someone new for the first time, I'll probably be tense. Like if I have the call like 3 p.m. or 2 p.m., I'll be tense from 8 a.m. till then.
Yep. Yep.
After that, I'll need to be. But I think now, I forgot about this call actually. I had a reminder like 30 minutes before.
Yep.
And yes, if it was before, I'll just be totally lost. But now it's just I think I go over that limitation. These days, I talk to people don't, until I say it, they're like, oh, no, you're not an introvert.
No, I don't
You're
think
not
you're
an
an introvert.
introvert.
No.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
it's making it more familiar, isn't it? Like I talk
yes,
often about the brain likes what's familiar. And so if you find something that you need to do that's not familiar, you just got to do it more, don't you? Just until it does become
exactly.
familiar.
And it's just part of you, exactly. So I think another thing, talking about things being familiar, when I started my business in 2010, I think one limitation I had to get over was my entire family. We had no entrepreneur, nobody who had
Yep.
built a career out of a business. So I didn't really have anybody I could model after. I didn't
Yep.
really have anybody that could understand me. Everybody, even though I was doing well, I could cover my bills, I could travel, have vacations and all that. But everybody was like, oh, go get a job. I studied engineering. Go get an engineering job. That's what everybody's doing. And
Yep.
at a point, it started messing with my mind until I think later I started getting into communities with other entrepreneurs, other business people, other people who were doing the same thing I was, people who could understand my struggles, people who could
Yep.
understand, yes, things. That's when I got over that other limitation. So this thing, introversion, that's one. Then I think one other this thing, perfection. I always want everything perfect, and it really held me back a lot.
Doesn't it?
Till I
Yeah.
read, I think there was this book I read. Luckily for me, I read that early in my career because when I was in school, I used to be this always B students, always wanting to have everything perfect,
Yep.
90%, 80%. When I got into business, I realized that's going to be a very big limitation because you're never going to get anything done. So I
Yep.
read this book by Michael Masterson, Ready, Fire, Aim. I always remember that book
Okay.
because what's basically says is once you're ready, take the first step. When you take the first step, then you measure your results before you take the second step. And I realize that thing always works with business plans. Because with business plans, I write a business plan, and when I get into the field, something else happens, something totally different happens.
Yep.
So if I spent maybe a year or two writing a business plan, that would have been a total waste of that time. So these
Yep.
days, I always make them really short, then let the market determine where the business plan goes. Then the final limitation I always had was okay, I'm Nigerian, and there's really this reputation my country has
Yes,
online.
yes. Yeah. Like, hang on, where are you from? You do want my money? Like, that's what you think, right?
Yeah. So I remember the first time I made this limitation. Okay, I started my business 2010. The first time that was 2014. I went for a marketing conference in London. So I think I had to ask a question and I raised my hand and I was like, oh, I'm Peter from Nigeria. Everybody just looked around and I'm like, oh, what's
That's awesome. Hide my bank account details in case of
I'm
Nigeria.
telling you, Nigerian prince.
Oh, it's gold.
All right. So once I got to this, so I think that I had a
Mm.
limitation in my head that okay, if I meet people and I say I am Nigerian, it's going to have that this thing. But I think over time, I realized it's not really a problem because if you're competent in what you're doing, if you meet the right clients, you're not going to mind. They're just going to focus on the results. You're just going to focus on
Yep.
those results you're going to get. And one thing I always tell people is that the people, those scammers, those Nigerian princes, those people that are going to scam you, they are never going to be Nigerian. They're going to be,
Yes.
you're from Australia. They're going to be an Australian person next to you. Meanwhile, that
Yep.
person is in Nigeria. They're never going to use their real name. They're never going to tell you their location.
Yep.
They're never even going to use,
Exactly.
yes, that's what I always tell people. So I think that was the final limitation I had to get over online because for a long time I never wanted to put that. I never wanted to say that, but I don't really mind now because I've worked with a lot of clients and when the clients actually work it never comes up. We just talk, okay, this is your problem. I have the solution. Can we work together? That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yes.
I love that. And I think that's that coming into that authentic space and just being us. And I think we've all got limiting beliefs, but it's the recognition that they're there is the first step, then we can create the change around them,
Yes.
right? Otherwise we
Yes.
self-sabotage and we just don't do things.
True. Really, really true. Really true. Because I remember a lot of times I had to, maybe there were times where I'll have to do a video. Okay, let's talk about I have a podcast. The first was it the first or second episode? I had an issue with my accents. I was like, okay, if someone hears my accent, they're gonna have an issue with it. And then I used AI, but AI didn't get the. I was like, no, that doesn't sound like me at all.
No.
Because I listened to it, I'm like, no, this is not me. This isn't me.
No, no. And
So
people
after
want
that,
to
I
hear
just
you, right? They want to,
exactly.
and there's something about that, like even like we're having this interview now, unless something major goes on, I don't edit the middle of my videos. I edit the start and the end to get them clean.
Yeah,
But if we stuff up right now, if there's if there's stumble over words, I think that's just what makes it because people see it's real then, right?
exactly. Because that's what happens when you have a real conversation. It's organic. You make the
Yeah.
mistakes and you
Yeah.
correct yourself.
But if you're anything like me, being that overachiever you were talking about, you twitch a couple of times when you make a mistake, right? There's a twitch, but I'm like, no, it's going to be okay. People like mistakes. um, but also that leads me into, when you are, so I'm a bit the same. I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I've had to work on that a fair bit. But that can really sometimes create a lot of overwhelm, can't it, when you're in business? So did you experience that? And do you have maybe some tips for other people that might be experiencing it?
I had it a lot. I had that a lot. Okay, first of all, I have this really short attention span, short memory.
Yeah.
So I know right from when I started my business, I always used to have, okay, I still have them. I had this very small jotters I used to carry about because I know if I wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this, I'm not going to do that if I don't write it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. So the overwhelm I realized is caused by actually a lot of things. This I first mentioned this disorganization. So when you're disorganized, you don't have systems, you don't have processes, you don't have a scheduled or organized or planned way of doing things, you're going to feel like you're fighting fires every single day. And I felt that I think for the first 4 or 5 years of my business, I
Yeah.
just felt like I was always on edge. There was always something going wrong. And I realized it's because every single time, maybe a problem that comes on that is repetitive, a problem that is recurring,
Yep.
it comes in and I have to start figuring out how to solve it from the beginning because I didn't learn from the previous time I solved the problem.
Yep.
So that's the first one. Then the second one is wearing too many hats. For the first 1 year, 2 years of my business, I was the customer care rep. I was the accountant. I was the
Yes, yeah, I can
I was
relate.
the
Yes.
I used to call it the chief everything officer because like I mentioned, I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family, so I still had that fear, that's fear of spending money, that fear of giving someone money to do something. I just felt, oh, I can, when you're the star employee, you can
Yeah,
do everything. You're the
yeah,
best at everything. So I still
yeah.
had that mindset. Yes. So that was one thing. Today I'm thinking of how to file my taxes. I'm thinking of how to do bookkeeping. I'm thinking of how to serve the clients. I'm thinking of how to solve this problem at the
Nice.
same time. So yes, wearing so many hats is another cause of the overwhelm. Then lack of focus too. Okay, I think that's like wearing too many hats, lack of focus, because you're not
Yeah,
really focusing on what you're good at. You're trying to figure out things that you have no idea about, to learn new things. So that's another cause. Then information overload. I think that's something I deal with till
yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so
Because
much
that's
information out there, isn't there? You just want to know it
because
all. Soak it up, soak it up.
honestly, because like you want to do something new. Okay, like let's say last year AI came out and they're saying, okay, you can do this with AI, and just say, okay, let me just go on YouTube or go here to
Yeah,
learn how to do this thing. And you see 250 videos.
yeah. It's like, which one am I going to pick? The Nigerian prince. Pick him. He'll know what's going on.
Honestly. No, like which one I going to, so before you need to have like 4 5 hours where you could have just picked maybe one or two and
Yeah,
just pick the top two, and this thing you're trying to say, okay, oh, this one has this thing that wasn't in this one.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, you just waste so much time trying to learn things. Then one other thing, one thing my favorite, I think, is going back to what I mentioned with the Jota. It's trying to keep, I don't know if it's unique to me, but it's trying to keep everything in your head, because I realized if I try to keep my to-do list, try to keep what I have to do, try to keep different things in my head, it's going to clash
yes.
with everything else. Because I read somewhere that they said the brain is a better processing medium than a storage medium. It's
Agreed.
better for
Yeah,
processing, yes, than for storing. But when you
yeah,
try to store too many things, you sabotage that processing aspects of the brain. So one thing I've learned over the past since maybe past 10 years or so, I've learned I don't try to remember anything. Once I have anything, I just send it to my to-do list. I don't keep anything in my head. If I
yeah,
have to schedule it, I schedule it. So I wake up in the morning, I just look, oh, okay, I have this. Oh, I remember this.
yeah,
And so I don't know, my brain is just for execution, 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 no storage. And
yeah.
it's just works perfectly for me.
Oh, I love that. And I've done that same thing because I wear many hats. But I want to keep all my hats. I don't want to get rid of mine. So I've got to find a way to make it work, right? And
Yeah.
and the main way I do that is I call it setting future gnomes up for success. Right. So how can I set future gnomes up for success? One is, yeah, getting rid of all of that storage stuff and just using it for processing. So I have, reminders on my phone, and my calendar is full of stuff that reminds me. I block calendar days out so that I know that it has got something to do. I even use the timer sometimes to time things, or I'll send myself an alarm in my phone, and my alarms are all,
Yeah.
for example, my daughter, God bless her, I pick her up from school, and when I every day there's an alarm that goes off my phone at 2:45, pick Zoe up from school, so I don't have to keep checking the clock, right? So if I'm engaged
True.
in work, I can be fully engaged in work, and I'm like, oh, I have to go pick up Zoe. Whereas before I'd be half there and half watching the clock, and oh, what's the time? And so yeah, it's just setting future you up for success, isn't it?
True. 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 That's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, because yeah, if I'm too worried about remembering from her, I couldn't process, and I couldn't do all of those other things I wanted to do in the
Exactly.
execution.
If you're enjoying this podcast and you want Naomi or any of her guests featured on your podcast or as a keynote speaker at your next event, you'll find their contact details included in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about how you can work with Naomi individually or as part of your strategy to improve leadership in your business, then review the courses, offers and services at getupandgoconsulting.com.au.
So there's three questions that I usually ask all of my guests. Brace yourself, Peter, they're
Exactly.
coming, right? So these three questions that I ask, because I believe things happen in our life and they're not always bad things, right? So firstly, what's the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome, and how did that strengthen your connection with yourself? How did that strengthen your connection inward? Have you lost me? Oh, you there?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I had to change yeah.
Okay. So just ask the question, what's the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome, and how did that strengthen your connection inward?
I think the biggest obstacle I had to overcome is getting over introversion. I think that's the biggest obstacle because for most, I know you mentioned earlier that you're an extrovert, so you might not really relate with
Yes.
it. But
Maybe.
honestly, it was, I think I did so many things to get over it. First of all, back in 2015, I had this food restaurant then. It had this unique take. So because of the unique take the restaurant had, I had a lot of people from the press and all that reaching out to me, and I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Mm.
Then whenever they reach out to me, I'm like, okay, just talk to my co-founder. I don't want to be on the press. I don't want to be anywhere. Just don't stress me out.
Yep. Yeah.
But
That's
over time, I
usually what I
realized
do. Yeah.
then there was this funny thing. My cousin then he brought to my notice when I had my staff, my employees in the office. He noticed that most times, if I wanted to tell someone that was just across from me to do something, I would either write it in Slack, in chats, you're across from me, or write it in chats.
Yeah. Right.
Rather than so he, so he mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm actually, why am I doing
Yeah.
this?
Why? Yeah. So that
So
drove you to go a bit more inward and have a look at why you do it, did it?
yeah,
Yeah.
I did that, and I realized it was something I'd been doing. I always wanted to hide behind that keyboard, hide behind the screen and all that. So the first thing I did to get over that was I joined Toastmasters back in 2016.
We have Toastmasters in Australia.
Yeah,
They're
I'm actually
global.
in my club. I'm actually the vice president membership right now.
All
So
right.
that
Very
means I
cool.
have to actually convince people to join and to stay on and things like that, which is something I'll never have done like 10 years ago.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yes, I joined Toastmasters. Then they didn't have hybrid meetings. Everything was physical. So I remember then the icebreaker, I had to come on the stage and I had to talk and I could hear my heart boom. I think it probably hit the lectern at a point.
That's awesome.
No, but that was the first step. So once I joined Toastmasters, I did my first, second test, which I was like, okay, this is not as bad as I think that was the first step, getting over the introversion. But okay, this is not as bad. I started joining different entrepreneurship, networking groups, and I think that's when I just got okay. This is
Yeah.
not. I think it's all been in my head of all the wrong things that could happen if I just walk up to someone and start a conversation.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think everything I've been doing has just been getting me out of my comfort zone. Is just being in my house in front of my laptop and not even on video, just texting
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But
Slack, on Messenger. But I think that's what happens a little bit. My friend, I had a friend of mine on my podcast, Michelle Griffiths, for
yeah.
anyone who wants to look up the episode, and she talked about high-low buffalo. So whenever you go networking, when you go up to someone, you can ask them or tell them a high of your day or your week, a low of your
Mhm.
day or your week, and then just something just really weird and random, which is the buffalo. So, and then that can create like some open conversation rather than going, oh, where do you work? Oh, how long have you worked there? You
Yeah.
know, like that, what people normally do.
Yeah, because I realized that kind of conversation always ends. Okay, where do you work? What do you do? What do you do? They just stand, have the awkward silence.
Yeah.
What next?
Well, high-low buffalo. That's what you can use next time. So
I'll steal that.
yes, definitely. So I have another question for you. I also believe that things that happen to us in life, although they can seem really overwhelming at the time, they usually have some good purpose for us. So have you had a main challenge in your life that happened that probably got you down at the time, but now you look back on, you're really grateful for?
Okay, I think there has been a lot, like being in business, everything goes wrong every day. But I think what I can say had the biggest impact on me was I think that was personal. It wasn't really business. Back in I think back in 2020.
Yep.
Back in 2020, I got separated from a person I was with, and this person was like my everything, like
Yeah.
my G, my body, my that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Where you can't imagine, where you've already imagined every like your next 80 years with that person, and it just happened all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason when I say I went from having 4 businesses running at a time, I could actually cope with that on a normal day. But when that happened, I just shut down. I
Yeah.
totally shut down. Like all the everything I had learned, everything I had become, all the confidence I had just vanished because I kept blaming myself, doing different things
Yeah.
and all that. And I think it's something that really helps because looking back, if that hadn't happened, I probably would have been trying to keep 4 businesses alive at the same time.
Very true. Yeah.
Very true, because when I look back at that time, the 4 businesses, okay, apart from the IT and the procurement, the other 2 weren't doing with the e-commerce and the food weren't doing well at all. So I
Yeah.
had a situation where I had to take money from the IT or the procurement and prop up the other
Yeah.
ones, and I just kept. Then I didn't know what I was doing, but when this thing happened, I had time to just stay on my own and look over the numbers, and I realized, okay, I'm making a lot of money here, and it's all going in here, and it's just keeping me at this level. And these things are not even things yet, because I'm really impulsive. Okay, no, I used to be impulsive. I'm no longer
Yeah.
impulsive.
Good pick up. Good pick up. Yeah.
I used to be impulsive. So I was this kind of person that I'm walking on the road and I see this and I'm like, oh, this would be a good business to start. And in 24 hours, I have a business doing that. That was me.
I can relate to that. Not starting businesses, but I did that. Oh, I've got this idea. This will be awesome. And then bang, I'm there.
Honestly, it's up and it's just another total time suck on me. So I
Yeah.
was like, look at that. Wait, why did I start this? Why? Oh, okay, I saw this thing and no, I shouldn't be doing this. Why did I start this? No. So I was able to, that quiet time and that me time I finally had, because prior to then, I was just there's this thing that they say that you have health, wealth, and relationships to balance everything. Like you talked about the
Yes.
counterbalancing before.
Yes.
So you have so then I was all on work, which is wealth. So
Yeah.
my health was zero. My relationships, I think probably that's part of what, because I used to wake up in the morning 4, I used to go 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. By 6:30, I'm in the office. I'm walking straight to like 8 p.m. And I'm wondering, what am I even doing there? So
Yeah.
when I had this me time, I could actually think of what I was doing. And I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. IT is something that's natural. It's something that I wake up in the morning and I won't even feel like I'm working if I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm solving problems. I'm looking at code. I'm looking at things going wrong with tech stacks. And I'm like, it doesn't feel like work to me. So I think that's where I realized, okay, I'm going to shut down all this and I'm going to
Yeah.
focus on this. And it's actually been the best decision I've ever made, because when I look at it right now, I have a lot more time. I'm actually able to focus on my health now.
Yeah.
Like if it's this 2024, between January and June last year, 2023, I lost 20 kg. I was really big
Yeah.
back then.
Congratulations on that. It's a good effort, eh? Good effort.
Yes. In 2018, I had high blood pressure. Like I couldn't walk from here till 20 steps without breathing, because
Yeah.
I didn't have I didn't have anything on my health. I didn't have. So I think with this now, I'm able to have my business now, do the most in my business. It's able to provide more than those 4 businesses
Yes.
were
Yeah.
providing to me personally. And I'm able to actually go to the gym regularly. I'm able to, every morning I start with exercise. I'm able to wake up in the morning, take like a 30 minutes or 1 hour walk. I don't start work till 8 or 9 now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike before.
And you've got that abundance then in that wealth, health, and happiness, right?
Exactly. And it's just so shocking, because then I felt the more I work, the more I'll make. It's just been the opposite. Now I just work 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. After 5, I don't touch anything work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually do more every day.
Yeah, I when I first started my business, I was the same. I would just work all day, all night, get a message, have to reply, and then I got to the point as where I'm like, no, this is not what I signed up for. Like I signed up for more freedom, and I'm just tied into this thing. So yeah, I do the same at 5 o'clock. I very rarely even answer just the normal phone, even if it's a personal call after 5 o'clock. I'm like, no, you've had all day. You can text me now, and if you're lucky, I'll get back to
Tomorrow.
you. Exactly. Like this is time for me. And I think if I had have been like the day job that I had in corporate, I was 24/7. Like it was a 24/7
Wow.
operation, and I made myself available for that. And I think that's the best thing about going into my own business is I don't feel guilty saying I'm done because I'm only relying on me
Yes.
now. It's not I'm having to serve these other business, like this other business or my boss or whatever. So that was great for me.
True.
So another last question for you.
Okay.
I'm a little bit of I say an inner hippie and all this sort of stuff, but I've just got such a really strong spiritual connection with myself, and it also helps my intuition and my decision making, right? So do you have any daily, weekly, or monthly practices that you do that strengthen your connection with your inner self to be able to help you with that space?
Okay. So I think there's actually a lot. I think the first one will be that I pray regularly.
Yeah.
When I talk about that first business I had in 2010, I actually it's actually funny, but I was actually praying when I don't know what happened. I just had an idea of the logo in my head.
Yeah.
And I just stopped and I just jotted it down on paper. And funny enough, that's my hosting business. It's actually still running till today. I had the idea back. I just had the idea while I was praying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how it works till today. I know I just do it, but it's just like I'm having a conversation. I'm having because like maybe I have this really big problem, big issue, something I can't figure. And I just leave it and I'll say, okay, I just go, I say my prayer, I talk about it. My prayers are just like conversations. Okay,
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is happening. I can't really figure it out and I'm leaving it. It's yours, it's not mine. And
Yeah.
funny enough, every single time I leave it, I forget about it. Maybe 2 days, 3 days, a week later, I just get a solution in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I often tell people, even in the therapeutic space, and in leadership, ask yourself the question. And I usually frame it as the body knows, but really it's the whole universal concept knows, right?
Yes.
And whether it's a God you believe in or source or universe or whatever that power is, they want the best for you. So they're going to give you the
Yes.
answers, but you have to ask first, right? Otherwise, you're not going to
Yes.
get.
Very true. Very true. Because I always tell people say that at the end of the day, you have to actually believe in something.
Yes.
Whatever you believe in, just have to believe because everybody believes in different things. But you see that whatever that person believes in works for
Yeah.
that person.
And
So you
it's
can
right.
see it's something, yeah,
Yeah.
it's something like it's more about something in us. Because like in Christianity, you'll say we are made in the image of the creator. So like we are mini creators on ourselves. So I
Yeah.
think in whatever you believe in, it works that same way. Once you believe, once you have what they call that faith, because that's one thing I really in the past few years I learned. Faith is really you believing enough in something to make it real. So for instance, let's talk about the
Yeah.
hosting I had the idea about. I had the idea, I wrote the logo, I drew the logo down
Yep.
and it just kept bothering me. And within like, let's say a week or so, I didn't know anything about hosting. I didn't know anything about it. But within a week, I had a hosting company set up. I figured out how to get
Yep.
the account. I figured out how to get everything. So that's the thing. Everything in life just starts with an idea. So as
Yep.
long as you're ready to get the idea, believe in the idea, keep acting. Like I mentioned that book, Ready, Fire, Aim. Are you ready? Just take the first step. Most times the
Yep.
first step reveals the next one you're going to take. Because there's something I usually say, if you're having if you're feeling blocked, you're having a time block, just go as far as you can. Just go as
Yeah.
far as you can. Once you
Yeah.
get as far as you can, you're going to figure out, you're going to see how much farther you can get. That's what
Yeah.
I've just learned in life. So I'm not
Yeah.
really, most times I'm not ready. I don't have the resources to start something, but just start, just go as far as I can. And before you know it, I look back and I'm like, oh, where am I? How did
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
here?
Where to go? And that's like supported by so many people, right? When they go, just follow the why. You know, the how will
Yes.
sort itself out. But if you just
Yes.
make your why
Yes.
strong enough, it'll pull you where you need to go. And I think that's where that faith
Exactly.
element comes in as well. It's if we, even if you don't believe in a higher power or a source, having faith in
Yeah.
yourself is the same thing,
Yourself.
right? And just having faith that
True.
you know the right decision and you'll make the right steps to get you where you need to go.
Exactly. And that anything that goes wrong is just guiding you in the right. Because most times we try something out and something goes wrong, and you just give up at that point. No, that thing
Yeah.
that goes wrong, like see what I mentioned now, I could have just given up and said, okay, I'm not doing anything again. I'm just going to chill and
Yeah.
not do anything. But
Oh,
okay, yeah, it happened. Okay, where is it taking me to? What better can come out of it? I think that's one
yeah.
thing.
And isn't that the story of business and most things we do? It's the moment that we don't give up, the next step we take gives us the rewards. And I
True.
always think to myself, you know, when I'm at a point of giving up, I'm like, no, this is a test. Just take the next step, right? Like it's taking you where you need to go. Which is really interesting. And you know what else I really liked when you actually were filling out the information for me was leaving time aside to think and strategize and imagine and
Yes.
not just be in
Yes.
amongst things. And I really love that. How do you do that?
Oh, okay. So that's one thing I learned. Remember when I said I used to work from 6:30 to 8 p.m.? That was actually Monday till Sunday.
Wow.
Like, like I didn't. I remember I was looking on my Instagram account. I've archived everything a while ago, but I was looking on my Instagram account, and there was a time I saw like on the first of January, family, everybody was having fun, and I'm taking a selfie in my office.
Mm. Oh no.
Yes, so I realized this same thing that we talked about things starting in your head.
Mm,
There's this book I read, what's the name? Psycho Cybernetics. It really fleshed out that thing for me
mm.
because it made a lot of things. Like for instance, in my business, I'm supposed to start a new project. I don't wake up and start a new project. I actually imagine the project first of all.
Yeah,
I
nice.
imagine the project, I get it to the end in my head before I
Yeah.
take the first step. So I realized, okay, I read the book and I'm like, okay, yes, I should actually take time to do. I shouldn't be working every day because I'm not going to go far by working every day. I'm
No.
going to, yes, I should
You
keep
burn
time. So
out,
what I
right?
do,
Yeah.
yes, you're going to burn out and you're not even going to enjoy what you're doing. So what I ended up doing was that at the end of the day, I said, okay, every day I should keep some time. I should keep some time out, 30 minutes before I sleep. Okay, I have this goal and I want to achieve this. And what can I do? What's different can I do? What steps can I take? How is it going to look at the end of this goal? So that's what I do every night before I sleep. I take like maybe 30 minutes, an hour, just thinking, just imagining myself having achieved that goal already before I've done it. Then I take what do they call it? Sundays. Every
Yep.
Sunday, I take every Sunday out for planning. I don't work on Sundays anymore. I hardly work on Saturdays.
Nice. Well done.
yes. So Sundays are mostly for just strategizing, just thinking, no actions or anything, just thinking, okay, where do I want to go? Where did I plan to go? Am I on the right path? What changed? How do I need to change my plans to suit that goal? So that's what I do.
Yeah.
And it's just so good because once I know that, okay, on Sundays, on Saturdays, I'm just thinking when I'm actually working, it's just that okay, I wake up in Monday, okay, I've said I'm going to do this and this. I'm just executing. I'm not thinking, I'm executing. And it just makes me much more efficient at
Yeah.
executing because I don't
Yeah.
have to think while executing.
So setting future you up for success, right? Like we were talking about before. That's the key
Yeah.
element. um,
That's it.
well, look, if anyone wanted to reach out, you've got your podcast as well, haven't you? Or is it Tech Your
Yeah.
Business Podcast?
Yes, the Tech Your Business podcasts.
And that's available on all the major podcasting streams?
Yeah, it's available on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, on Google. Google is going soon. So all of them.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
available
So
there.
so if anyone wants to listen to a bit more about your tech capabilities and your knowledge you want to share, all those gold nuggets, they can tune in there. But if anyone wanted to reach out to you just to have a chat or to learn more, how can they get in contact with you?
Okay, I think the only social media I update these days is my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, Peter Banigo, my name together. Or just search out for me. I think I'm the only Peter Banigo for now.
Awesome. Well, I'll also tag you, tag all of those in the show notes. So if anyone hasn't written it down, they can go there and find those tags. But thank you very much for taking the time out to have a chat with me. I really appreciate it, Peter. It was good fun.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it too. I think, like you said, talking to you first thing today would make the day amazing.
Hey, not going to disagree with that. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too. You too.
Thanks for joining in and listening to this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast. It's been great having you here. And if you'd like to go and like and subscribe and maybe even leave a 5-star rating if you think it's worth it, I'd really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.